Carrick was a young shapeshifter who lived in the mountains with his family. He could take human form, but he preferred his life as a cougar. His family always warned him to stay away from humans, but his curiosity grew too strong. Eventually, he left his home and was adopted by a kind human family. One morning at breakfast, he saw a disturbing article in the newspaper. Animal attacks on humans were on the rise, and they were getting worse every day. That same morning, Carrick said goodbye to his siblings and got into the car with his mother, Anna, and sister, Melody. They were on their way to visit a new school. During the drive, Carrick noticed two crows following them. He had a strange feeling they were shapeshifters, just like him. By evening, the family was tired and decided to stop at a hotel. But the crows were still there, perched on a nearby wire, watching them. That night, a noise outside woke Carrick. He looked out the window and saw a pack of wolves slinking down the alley. A moment later, all the lights in the building across the street went out. The next morning, they continued their journey and finally arrived at Clearwater High School. The moment Carrick stepped out of the car, his senses went on high alert. He saw the same two crows, but now they were disguised as students, leaning against a wall. Just then, a woman approached them, introducing herself as Principal Lisa. She welcomed Carrick warmly and then turned to his mother, Anna. She asked how she had found him. Anna explained that Carrick's biological parents were never located. Years ago, she received a call about a boy who needed to be rescued. When she arrived, she found a terrified little Carrick sitting all alone. Anna gently comforted him, and her heart went out to him. She convinced her husband to adopt him. Carrick didn't trust anyone else, so they raised him as their own son. After he finished 10th grade, they received an invitation from this very school. Anna thought it would be good for him to live away from the city, since he hadn't been very happy at his last school. Principal Lisa then asked to speak with Carrick alone. Once Anna was out of earshot, Lisa looked at him and said, "I know your secret." She revealed that everyone at Clearwater High was a shapeshifter, including her. That's why he was invited. Here, he wouldn't have to hide who he truly was. Suddenly, the school's alarm blared. Lisa rushed out to see Carrick's mother and sister wandering aimlessly around the campus. She quickly instructed an assistant to escort them out before they accidentally saw a student shifting into their animal form. Seeing so many different species gathered in one place filled Carrick with a joy he had never known. For the first time in his life, he wasn't alone. As he explored the school grounds, he ran into a group of boys led by someone named Jeffrey. The tension was immediate and obvious. Before anything could happen, a teacher named James appeared and broke it up. Later, all the new students were formally introduced. Anna said her goodbyes, leaving her son to start his new life. As she and Melody walked to their car, a wealthy-looking man named Andrew Milling arrived. He was the school's main benefactor. After his family left, Carrick was introduced to Andrew. Andrew told him he understood his journey, explaining that he had once roamed the world as a cougar before realizing there was more to life. Later, in his new dorm room, Principal Lisa explained the school's rules. As soon as she left, a squirrel appeared at his window. Carrick opened it, and the squirrel hopped inside. Introducing herself as Holly, she was his temporary guide. She led him to his first shape-shifting class. Their teacher, Mr. Elwood, started with a stern warning. Their powers were to be used only in class. Using them in front of humans was strictly forbidden, as it could lead to capture and experimentation. Since Carrick was new, he was asked to demonstrate his transformation, but before he could, another boy, Brandon, suddenly shifted into a massive wild bison. It was clear he had little control over his powers, which was why he struggled to stay in human form. Seeing how easily Brandon transformed shook Carrick's confidence. It had been so long since he'd let his cougar side out, but Lisa encouraged him. She reminded him of his old life, of running free through the forest with his parents. As the memories flooded back, Carrick felt a powerful change. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, he was standing on four paws, a cougar once more. Lisa then asked all the students to shift. It was then Carrick understood why Jeffrey and his friends were always together. They were a wolf pack. Lisa assured Carrick that with time, he would learn to balance his human and animal sides. A few hours later, while Carrick was resting, Brandon walked in and introduced himself as his new roommate. Just then, Holly popped in to announce it was time for dinner. In the cafeteria, Carrick met Dorian, a boy who could turn into a house cat. He shared a sad story about how his human family had thrown him out after they caught him opening a can of fish by himself. Now that Carrick had revealed his powerful mountain lion form, he earned a new level of respect. But it also made some of the weaker shapeshifters, like Bo, a boy who turned into a small rabbit, very afraid of him. Soon after, Carrick saw Jeffrey and his wolf pack bullying Bo. Carrick didn't hesitate. He stepped in and stood up to the wolves, saving the terrified rabbit. A fight was about to break out, but their teacher, James, intervened once again. That night, Carrick was dreaming of his mountain family when Brandon suddenly woke him up. He had transformed into a bison in his sleep and completely destroyed his bed. He explained that it happened about once a week and apologized for the future disturbances. Carrick sighed, realizing peaceful nights were going to be a rare luxury. The next morning in combat class, Brandon was called to fight another student, Berth, but Brandon refused, saying he didn't believe in fighting and that everyone should live peacefully. So, Carrick was called to take his place. The teacher noticed Carrick's hesitation, his lack of confidence. Just then, Andrew Milling appeared. He held out a small pouch and told Carrick to smell it. It was filled with cougar urine. The moment the scent hit him, an instinctual power surged through him, and he transformed instantly. On the training field, despite being smaller than Berth, Carrick's raw strength was overwhelming, and he easily won the match. Next, to other students, Leroy and Dorian were called. But when Dorian smelled the scent from his pouch, he panicked and fled, giving Leroy an easy win. After class, Andrew approached Carrick. He said he saw great potential in him and offered to train him personally. He gave Carrick the pouch, telling him it would help him connect with his power. Seeing the school's sponsor give so much attention to the new kid, Jeffrey burned with jealousy. He marched up to Carrick and challenged him to a fight, Carrick against two of his wolves. If Carrick won, Jeffrey promised his pack would leave him alone for good. That evening, Carrick sat with his new friends in a treehouse and told them what had happened. He had accepted the challenge. Brandon panicked, warning him that if they were caught fighting, he'd be expelled, but Carrick was determined. He looked at his friends and said, "Once a lion ... double quotes, whatever he had said. Seeing they couldn't change his mind, Holly finally told him they would support him in any way they could. Brandon added that he'd come along too, just to see how Carrick would handle those wolves. That night, the three friends quietly snuck out of the hostel. Carrick took out the familiar pouch from his pocket, smelled it, and transformed instantly. When he reached the designated fighting spot, he asked which two wolves he was supposed to fight. But that's when he realized he'd been deceived. Instead of two wolves, Jeffrey and his entire pack surrounded him. Still, Carrick didn't back down. He was stronger than all of them, but the wolves were cunning. They attacked him from behind, and their combined weight began to overpower him. Seeing their friend in trouble, Holly pushed Brandon off the cliff. He transformed midair and jumped into the fight, distracting the wolves just long enough for Carrick to strike back hard. Jeffrey and his pack were finally forced to retreat. The next morning in class, James noticed several students were injured. He sent them to get bandaged up, but when he asked how they got hurt, everyone gave different excuses. It was obvious they had been fighting. Principal Lisa called Carrick in for questioning, but before she could speak, Andrew took him away. While driving, Andrew revealed he knew exactly what had happened. He told Carrick that a real mountain lion should be able to defeat all the wolves alone, whether they were 4 or 10. Carrick explained that he left his family when he was very young and never learned to hunt properly. Hearing this, Andrew offered to teach him how to become a true predator. When they returned, Lisa scolded Andrew for giving a student special treatment and warned Carrick that if he was caught fighting again, he would be expelled. As soon as she left, Holly and Brandon rushed over to ask what happened. But just then, Carrick saw Lou walking into the forest and decided to follow her. They both overheard teachers discussing the recent rise in animal attacks on humans. It was strange, as animals had no reason to enter the city. They suspected shapeshifters were involved. If humans discovered the truth, both species would never be able to live together peacefully. Humans fear what they don't understand, and then they try to destroy it. Lisa and the Woodwalker Council needed a plan to stop the attacks. On the way back, Carrick told Lou that he had seen four wolves attacking humans while traveling to the school with his mother. He was now sure it was Jeffrey and his friends. The next day, Andrew took Carrick into the forest for his first real training session. He explained that the more he shifted, the easier it would be to control both sides of his nature and understand his full strength. Before the hunt, the cougar chose its target and moved away to set up a trap. Carrick successfully caught a deer and, after eating with Andrew, returned to school. During their talk, Andrew sadly mentioned he once had a daughter who would have been Carrick's age. During lunch, Lou noticed Carrick wasn't eating. He told her he'd gone hunting with Andrew and made his first kill. Hearing this, Lou walked away, upset. It reminded her of the day a cougar attacked her mother, leaving her unable to walk properly ever since. Carrick followed her into the forest to apologize, but couldn't catch up. Later that night, Carrick heard Jeffrey screaming and saw the wolves plotting something outside his window. He followed them to a nearby town, where they scared a security guard and tried to break into a factory. Carrick caught them red-handed. As the wolves prepared to attack him all at once, Andrew arrived and stopped everything, ordering them all back into his truck. When they got back to school, Carrick was called into a private meeting. That's when he learned the shocking truth. All the recent attacks had been orchestrated by Andrew himself. Carrick felt devastated and betrayed. Andrew explained that years ago, he lost his wife and daughter. They were killed by a hunter while in their animal forms. Since then, he's hated humans, believing they've taken over the world and pushed animals to extinction. For 50 years, shapeshifters had tried to change laws peacefully, but things only got worse. Andrew felt he had no choice but to take matters into his own hands. Just then, Sheila brought in food, and Carrick noticed she wore a prosthetic leg. Andrew revealed she was a snake shifter who was run over by a car, and the humans didn't even care. Still reeling from the hunter attack, woke up in Andrew's house. After explaining the terrifying chase through the forest, a dark thought began to form in his mind. Maybe his real family hadn't just disappeared. Maybe, like Andrew's, they were killed by hunters. A surge of anger washed over him, and just like that, he agreed to join Andrew's mission against the humans. Before they left, Andrew dropped a bombshell. He had sent shapeshifters to find Carrick's real parents and promised a reunion if they were alive. Moments later, Carrick's mom called, excited about their family trip. He had to lie, telling her he was swamped with schoolwork. Just then, a worried Brandon and Holly showed up, but Carrick, blinded by his new purpose, angrily told them to leave. Andrew's team soon arrived at a construction site. He assigned Carrick the job of herding the forest animals to safety, while Jeffrey and his wolves scared off the human workers. As Carrick shooed away some rabbits, his heart sank. He saw his parents' tent pitch nearby. He started to panic. Andrew called, calmly assuring him his family wasn't in danger. The workers, terrified by the wolves, fled in their trucks. With the site clear, the real chaos began, then climbed into a massive vehicle and started dumping wooden beams. Carrick screamed for him to stop, terrified for his parents. Out of nowhere, Brandon and Holly arrived to help. When Shadow and Wing swooped in, Jeffrey's wolves scattered, afraid of being caught by the school. Lou also appeared, trying to reason with Dan, arguing there were better ways to stop the project. But Dan, furious, pushed Lou aside and transformed into Iron Bear. Brandon leapt in to protect everyone. With Holly's help, Carrick knocked Dan out of the driver's seat and chased him in cougar form. Suddenly, Andrew reappeared. Furious that Carrick had turned against him, he removed the block holding the vehicle, sending it rolling down the slope. He then attacked Carrick. They fought fiercely, but the fight came to an abrupt end when Carrick saw the logs tumbling straight towards his family's camp. He broke away and sprinted to save them. Hearing the crash, Anna yelled for everyone to hide. But Melody, with her headphones on, was oblivious. When she finally looked up and saw the logs hurtling toward her, she screamed. In a flash of fear, Carrick leapt, pushing her to safety just in time. Anna rushed out, relieved to find her daughter alive. Melody told her a cougar had saved her, but her father dismissed it as a trick of her frightened mind. A short while later, Lou and the others found an unconscious Carrick in the forest. They feared the worst, but breathed a sigh of relief when the mountain lion opened his eyes. Carrick immediately ran to check on his family. Andrew was already there, playing the hero. He pretended he was just passing by, witnessed the accident, and had called a helicopter to take the family to the hospital. With his parents safe, Carrick's anger at Andrew boiled over. He threatened to tell the principal everything, but Andrew had one last card to play. He calmly stated that he'd found Carrick's real family. He would only reveal their location if Carrick kept his mouth shut about the entire incident. Trapped, Carrick had no choice but to agree. When the kids returned to school, they were welcomed as heroes. They had, in their own chaotic way, prevented a war between humans and shapeshifters. What a wild ride. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.